All right. Good morning, boys and girls. So I've been working on something recently, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to share it. So yeah, and it's not so much like really the top 5 lightweight AR mods, but more of a rifle build that sort of incorporates that kind of philosophy, which is lightweight, inexpensive. So when I first sort of held or shot an AR or an AR platform rifle, I found what I found most appealing was the sort of handiness or lightweightness that the platform often lends itself to be. So, and a couple of years ago, I was watching Ian and Carl over on InRange with their What Would Stoner Do project. So, fast forward a couple of years, when KE Arms, which is the manufacturer of this lower receiver, made available the KP-15 one-piece polymer lower, I was pretty keen to get my hands on one of the first out the door, as it were. And this lower is just that. Again, I was taking inspiration from what Ian and Carl were doing, and I wanted to make a sort of similar rifle that is lightweight and handy and practical, but more on the inexpensive side and more suiting my personal preferences. So I think you can buy the What Would Stoner Do rifle with the KP-15 lower through Brownells, but it's like $1,500. My intention was to do a little bit better than that in terms of being a cheap ass. Yeah, look no further than cheap ass Jamar to find a way. So let's get started. So starting with the lower, as I mentioned, KP-15. This is one of the I have one of the lower early serial numbers, so I think that's kind of, it's good and it's bad, right? That's kind of cool that you have one of the early ones. It's kind of bad because whatever problems arise in production and they fix them, you didn't get one of those later ones that got fixed. But so far so good. Excuse me. So basically, at the time of filming, the KP comes in 3 flavors: the fully stripped version, the assembled version that comes with the bolt catch, the magazine catch, fire control group safety, and buffer system. And then the third flavor is just that, but it has a I think it has a cassette style trigger. In any case, it has a sort of better non-mil spec trigger from that's one of KE's own. The stripped receiver is, I think, $129.99. The assembled is $199.99, and the one with the special trigger, I think, is $299.99. I went with the assembled for a couple reasons. Because this section of the receiver is sort of made thicker. As I understand it, there's concerns of durability and deflection and failure in some of these areas, namely the hammer pin. So when you get the assembled version, you get an extended hammer pin that fits flush with this thicker part of the receiver. And I wanted that hammer pin. KE Arms says you can use a standard mil spec, as it were, hammer pin, but I wanted to have a longer pin. I did upgrade the trigger, so I went with a this is a Dirty Bird 2-stage trigger, so it's it's like 70 something. I want to say it was something like $70 on sale through AR-15discounts.com, and it's a huge improvement. I've had a handful of mil-spec triggers. I've stoned some in the past. It's with varying degrees of success. So basically, with a mil-spec trigger, you can improve the weight, you can improve the pull and smoothness, but it's in my experience, it's rather difficult to reduce or eliminate the creep and do it safely. Let's see here. Magazine, that's an aluminum 10-round mag from ASC. It's super light. It is something like 2.2 ounces, so it's basically a potato chip. It'll blow away in the wind. No problems to report. The trigger, yeah. Is it as good as a Geisley or any of the other premium brands? I don't know. I'd say it's 90% as good, and it costs maybe only 40 or 30% is the price. So totally worth it for cheap ass JMR. That's lower. That's the mag. Moving on to the upper. That's an Aero Precision upper with a forward assist deleted. I don't see a reason why you need to have a forward assist in pretty much any circumstance. I'd say if you have an issue with the bolt going into battery, you probably have something else going on where you shouldn't be shoving it. You shouldn't be shoving it home, because that would perhaps make whatever problem you got a bigger problem. But in any case, the sort of philosophy of use, if I can borrow that phrase or term from Nothing Fancy, the philosophy of use of this rifle is primarily like varmint rifle or otherwise recreational. So forward assist isn't really necessary as far as I see it. Bolt carrier group, as you can see, is locking that open. That is a Brownell's lightweight with the titanium nitride coating. I got to be honest, I mostly went for that coating because of bling. I thought it looked pretty cool. One thing I kind of didn't fully understand was with this bolt carrier group is in the department of lubricity. It's kind of grabby. It feels grabby. It feels grabby when you rub it up against stuff, i.e. like the inside of an upper receiver. I understand that it's a pretty resilient coating in terms of durability and resistance to abrasion, and that's why a lot of guys and gals like it. But as far as I can see, a regular sort of black nitride coating, or especially a nickel boron, is probably going to give you better lubricity. Having said that, I don't see that I'm having all that many problems with regard to how slick the action is. I will say, however, though, I did have some issues with cycling in the first few rounds. Basically, was struggling to cycle stuff while the rifle was breaking in, and it's not entirely clear what the cause was. Maybe just breaking. Now it seems to cycle fine. However, it does choke on steel case ammo. Brass runs okay. Steel case, it chokes, and it probably half the time it fails to lock open on the last round. So I'm still working on that. I think that might be more to do with if that is a problem that persists. I would think that might have more to do with the rifle length gas system. Moving on to the rifle length gas system. Excuse me. The barrel. This is a Ballistic Advantage 18-inch barrel that is a heavy profile that is also fluted, and as I had already mentioned, a rifle length gas system. Part of the reasoning behind running this relatively heavy barrel, it's almost 2 pounds, it is 1.96 pounds. Part of the reason why running this heavy barrel on such a sort of lightweightness oriented project was, well, for one, what's neat about having a lightweight project to begin with is you can take, the more weight you can reduce on other components, the more sort of compromises you can make in other areas. But I wanted to be able to run, excuse me, to run a string of shots before you start throwing accuracy. Meaning, I want to be able to run, say, 5 rounds in fairly rapid succession without sacrificing sort of repeatable precision, i.e., a deflection of the barrel from heat. Is that realistic? I can't say with any real certainty. But in any case, that was the idea. And A2 A2 bird cage at the muzzle. Circling back from the rifle length gas system, so there is a compromise that's made when you go with a rifle length gas system. That was what's available, and I was kind of I feel that when you go with a longer length gas system, it's a trade-off between pressure in the bore, excuse me, pressure in the bore versus sort of gas power. You risk undergassing it, and that's a potential risk that I've maybe been subjected to. So I thought for a moment, well, a lightweight bulk carrier group is going to help if you have a gas system that is maybe underpowered. But I sort of thought about it for a moment, and I think it's a mistake. It's a potential mistake that a lot of folks make, which is, well, if my rifle's undergassed, I'll just throw in a lightweight bulk carrier, and that'll improve the sort of ease in cycling of the system. The short answer is I don't see that to be true. Whatever mass you have in the bolt carrier and the buffer, we would consider those two pieces to be basically a single mass because they work together. Whatever energy from the gas system is transferred into the bulk carrier group, all that is going to get absorbed into the recoil spring, anyways. The thing that is going to change is when you remove mass from the bulk carrier group and the buffer, you're going to increase the velocity of the bolt when it's being cycled. Can that introduce problems? Definitely. Whatever problems I have are or have had are not related to the velocity of the bolt, but more related to the bolt cycling all the way back far enough to trigger the magazine, trigger the bolt catch from the magazine. Well, Jamar, you could just go with a lighter buffer spring. Yeah, that's true, but with the spring already as light as it is, if you go lighter on the buffer spring, yes, it will be easier. It will require less gas, or that is, less force from the gas system to force the bolt all the way rearward, but you then have less force from the spring. You have less pressure from the spring forcing the bolt forward stripping off a cartridge from the magazine, which I don't really want any less force than I already got. That's further into the weeds than I really meant to go. Apologies. Anyway, moving on to the Handguard. Handguard. Love this handguard. It's fabulous. This is a 10-inch handguard from, I believe it's AIM Sports, and yeah, I love it. It's just under 10 ounces, and it's, I think I mentioned, 10-inch handguard, just under 10 ounces, and it's $50. You know, get the fuck out of here. $50. That's an awesome deal. If it provided that it's functional and it serves the purpose that you need, and as far as I can see, it does mine. I know Midwest Industries makes some aluminum handguards that are actually even lighter than this one, but they're considerably more expensive, and I would have some concerns about removing more material from a handguard that's already pretty light. Also, in the sort of referring back to what would Stoner do project, there is still yet more weight loss to be had with materials like carbon fiber, and you can get a short 10 or 7-inch handguard like this length, constructed out of carbon fiber, and you can save even you can save probably 2, 3, 4 more ounces at a cost. I think the one that Ian and Carl used was about the same weight as this, maybe even actually heavier, but it costs like $300. So I'm trying to keep the cost down because I'm a cheap ass, and that just I don't see the value in that. Some guys like to have a handguard that's runs way out towards the muzzle because they like to, I don't know. Some people shoot like that. They want to hold the handguard way out there, and I know that's a more sort of modern technique. I don't shoot like that. I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad or right or wrong, but I just don't shoot like that, and I don't have anything that I want to hang way the hell out there, so I don't have a reason to have a longer handguard to hang stuff out there. So that's as far as I can see. If you're not going to use it, why have that extra material that has added weight and added weight that you don't want and added real estate that you don't need. Charging handle, again, it's kind of a bling thing. If you kind of know what you're looking at when you're looking at watching this video, you kind of know that charging handles, you know, there's a million of them out there. Some are cheaper than others. This one's a cheapo. But it's ambi. I kind of like having an ambi because although I'm a righty, I can easily do a chamber check with my primary hand, or whatever you want to call it. And I just like bigger handles to get a better purchase on. Something I didn't really appreciate until I tried it. So that, let's see here. That's the base rifle in a fairly brief description as best I can do it. So the naked rifle with this magazine is a bit under 6 pounds. So according to my scale, it's 5.75 pounds. So under 6 pounds, and as far as cost goes, under $800 And I'll throw in. So I'll put in an annotation. The parts, how much they weigh, how much they cost. And if you put in I think if you add the trigger upgrade, that puts me right around $800. And you can't beat that in my view. And this is at the height of the panic buying a COVID-19, so you kind of can't beat that, in my opinion. Let's run through some of the accessories that I have on this rifle. So, optic, this is a Burris full field E1, and that's 4.5 to 14 by 42. Excellent value scope. This is what a lot of folks would consider the sort of low end of the higher end scopes. the sort of long and short for me on scopes and value, I've used a lot of cheap-ass scopes. I've used a lot of, I've used Barskas and Tasco. Generally, I've had a lot of success with even the less expensive brands. Generally, what I see, excuse me. Generally, what I see with a more expensive optic is you're typically paying for glass, if not just name. So, you know, if you're doing long-range hunting, long-range varmint hunting, and you really don't want to tolerate distortion because of poor quality glass, you know, then you can spring for more money. But honestly, even with the cheaper stuff, I haven't seen a whole lot of issues with regard to precision and maintaining zero. I really haven't. Sometimes the glass you're looking through isn't too great, and the picture might not be of the clarity that you'd want, but as far as retaining zero and precision and that sort of thing, I just haven't seen any problems. Having said that, this is a really excellent compromise. I think I paid like $180 for this optic, and it's highly satisfactory. Highly satisfactory. And speaking of expensive brands, so the rings, or I should say before I get to the rings, the only issues I ever have had with optics and retaining zero is when something gets loose. Rings go loose, the bases get loose, something like that. Obviously you're going to have problems if you do that. With regard to rings, these are Leupold Rifleman rings. And I know what you're thinking, J-Mar, I thought you were a cheap ass. What are you doing buying Leupold parts? Now these are Leupold brand parts, but they're sourced from well, some vendor that they don't source the rest of their parts from. So they were like $15, and they weigh 1.25 ounces each, and I haven't had any problems with them so far. I do nowadays. You can see these little white marks. I'll witness mark my fasteners on the Handguard too. I'll witness mark my fasteners just to make sure nothing's moving on me and that the fasteners aren't backing out, because I have had that problem. If you buy $200 and $300 rings, does that help ensure that the fasteners aren't going to back out? I don't think so, but hey, I don't know. I never spent $200 or $300 on rings, so that could be something to look into. Anyway, yeah, in the scope itself, 15 ounces. So, yeah, I mean, well, it is what it is, 15 ounces. Up front, as you can see, bipod. You might think, well, J-Mar, what the fuck, man? I thought you were building a lightweight rifle and then you just hang heavy shit off the end of it. Very true. Very true, young viewer. Well observed. This one is fairly lightweight, 12 ounces. It's a little bit lighter weight than you're going to have. Well, it's considerably lighter than you're going to have with like Harris, although Harris makes really great products, like a Harris bipod that uses a sling swivel. But you know, if you're going to have a varmint rifle, you really ought to have. I mean, I can't do it without a bipod. Unless you're shooting offhand, I gotta have a bipod. So, like I said, it's a fairly lightweight model. It's fairly tall to get your muzzle and your eye line off the deck. And I think it was like between 60 and $70 on Optics Planet. So far I'm pretty happy with that. It just uses the M-lock, so you don't have to worry about a sling swivel. And so far it's definitely worthwhile. What else? And I have just a pick rail section on here because I was trying experimenting with stuff. What else? I think that about covers it. Again, I'll put up the parts list and how much they weigh and how much they cost. Of course, all that's subject to change. Probably the weight isn't so much, but yeah, So cool. Hopefully you can take from this, learn a little bit about what you would want to do with your project, or what you want to not do with your project, and it can sort of it can give you some inspiration on your own adventure, and that can be pretty cool. So yeah, and thanks for watching. Bye.